Welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 65. I'm your host, Sigma. Before we get into who's joining me today, real fast, let's go over what our topics for the day will be. First up, I know you guys have heard in the news, FIFA and EA have been in negotiations. Those negotiations have fallen flat. They're going their separate ways. And with them go the soccer clubs that will be represented in a future soccer/football game. We'll talk about kind of what that means, reasons behind it, etc. Secondly, we're going to go into a news story that broke about Activision Blizzard King's diversity algorithm, like this kind of weird computer program they put together to try and test how diverse the characters in their games are. And kind of how some of the actual devs who are making characters who are diverse feel about this algorithm that they've posted out. We'll go into that. And finally, Sony once again have reiterated that they have no intention of putting their first-party games on this new PlayStation Plus that's coming very soon. And it goes as far as to say that it would deteriorate the quality of the games if they were to launch day one on PlayStation Plus. So we'll get into what Sony might be meaning there and if there's any merit to what they're talking about. Here today to talk with me about these topics are Blue Bones.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue Bones.
Superman Jeff 12.
Yep.
And the Fat Stacks.
Oh, he muted.
I think he might be muted now.
Oh, see, look, there you go. There's always something. What's going on, y'all?
Welcome. So going to guys here in the chat says yip. Back to Jeff.
What's up, y'all?
So welcome everybody. We'll warm things up. It's been a little while. We were off last week for Mother's Day. Because give glory and thanks to all the mothers out there.
Hey.
They're doing the Lord's work.
You know what I'm saying?
But we'll get back into the swing of things by going over what we've been playing and watching and listening to, reading, all that jazz. Anybody feel like going first?
I mean,
I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead, ladies first.
I'm perfectly.
I mean,
I'm not a lady.
You know what I mean.
I can go.
You know what I mean.
I can go first.
Yeah.
Regardless of that information. Anyway.
Age before beauty,
Oh, look who's in the chat for the first time, Mr. Snicks360.
What's up, Snicks?
Check this guy out. One of me and Jeff's best friends in the world. Finally, after 65 episodes, has showed up to the podcast.
I'm mad at
amazing
it
stuff.
Calls him out to the highlights.
Yeah.
And
he's finally here.
That's really funny. But yeah, I'll go first in terms of what we've been playing.
Ooh.
I was just talking with Jeff just before we went live about more Elden Ring stuff. Like I took a little bit of break, not on purpose. Like I kind of have to go play other stuff for work, so I don't have the time to play what I want all the time. And also, I love Smash, so I play a lot of Smash. So I'm not gonna talk about Smash, but I think I'm nearing the end of the actual game, but then like from hearing other people's playthroughs and like other stories and reading stuff about Elden Ring, I'm like, there's so much that I just have not stumbled upon yet. And like, I'm not beelining the game by any measure. Like if I'm in a new area, like I'll, waltz around, like I won't have a clear direction, but like I'll find cool stuff. Like I'll beat cool bosses or whatever. And then I've just sort of fallen into near the end of the game and realized like I've skipped so much. So I'm going back now. Like I'm following guys to be like, all right, so have I talked to this character? Have I advanced this quest line far enough to get this thing to open up? And like, I keep being like put back as to, not put back, that's the wrong word, but I keep being surprised, I guess, by just how much more there is. Like there's still so much more game in Elden Ring and it's all good. Like it's not like it's getting boring. It's not getting lazy. Previous From Software games have had that issue where like the back third or the back fourth sometimes just feel like they were kind of trying to get it over with, like they ran out of time, like enemies get copy pasted, the areas get less expansive or
original.
The level design just kind of falls apart, especially in Dark Souls 1. Like that's really evident in that one. Mm-hmm. But man, like I'm super hyped about it. Koenig A says, how much Elden Ring will you play before you're willing to watch the Vati video lore video? Well, I watch the lore videos as soon as they come out because honestly, I kind of treat the lore as separate from the gameplay because you can glean some information about what's going on, but all of it is theory in terms of like what's actually happening. So like Vati Vidya isn't like the authority on what the actual story is. He's just really good at looking at everything and piecing together what makes the most sense to him. And usually most people will just go with that interpretation. But there are other folks out there who will think differently. And you yourself can think differently. And the story in this game is pretty good. Like I like the lore and the characters. They're all like memorable and super interesting. Still not really holding a candle to Bloodborne's story in my eyes. That's still probably the best storytelling, or the best lore, I should say, in a From Software game, in my opinion. But just overall, in terms of like scope and feel and just Elden Ring is great. I mean, everyone knew that already, so I'm not saying anything new. But yeah, I've been playing some other things, but I can't really think about them right now. So I don't know if it comes up later.
Good?
Maybe I'll maybe I'll pop back with some other game stuff if I can remember. But I mean, the stuff I was playing was like reviewed, so you can check the Escapist site to get deeper thoughts on that, like Ayuden Chronicles Rising, which I didn't like very much, but some other folks might be into. But outside of that, I've been watching Ozark. The final season dropped. Fantastic. Blue, I know you're still like early on, so I won't spoil anything.
I wish I could tell you.
Can I say something about Ozark? I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up in what I've been watching because
okay,
if I should be clear, it should be what I'm not watching. I love Jason.
Are you telling me you fell off it?
I love Jason Bateman, and I actually really like Laura Linney, and there is too much mystery right now and not enough payoff.
Well, how far in have you gotten
I think I'm
so
almost
far?
done with season 1, and it's just every time there's one problem, or every time they solve one problem, they get 3 more, and it's just overwhelming at this point.
No, you are absolutely right. That is, you especially feel that in the last season because it's like you don't know how things are going to like end.
Yeah,
all the characters are desperate to have things end, but it's like, yes, we solved this problem. Here's another problem, or the problem we thought we solved has been undone over here. Like, so yeah, it's that kind of stressful, spinning plates type of story.
It's like,
I guess
the further I get, I feel like in most shows, the further I get, I see growth, I see progression, I see a step forward, even if it's a little bit a step forward. This one, I feel like the longer I go, the further back I go. So if I stop now, they'll be you know what I mean? Like, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And I don't want to feel that way because everybody I know says Ozark is the show to watch. So I think that's kind of what's been fueling me to push through another episode, but I'm not enjoying it yet. It's a hard start. It's a very hard start.
That's okay. Like I didn't feel that way. Like I felt like it had a pretty strong one in terms of like pulling you into
the first episode was great.
I feel like the first episode is like really engaging.
Yeah.
But like I guess afterwards when they're kind of introducing you to the new location and stuff, it can probably feel a little slow. But I don't know. I personally think it continues to get better. If anything, the last season might be the most stressful in terms of what you're talking about.
Ooh.
In which case, you may not you may not be into it. But at that point, you're so invested, you might want to just see what happens, right?
I hate that.
But I loved it. I think it's really really good. But outside of that, I've also been watching the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I know like pretty much nobody else is watching this show.
Keep telling me about that.
It's an Amazon original. If you don't know what it is. It's about it's like set in the 1960s. It's during like that era where women are supposed to be housewives, men are supposed to be the breadwinners, blah 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 blah. But then there's also like this sort of undercurrent of things are changing, like women's rights are starting to peek through, like race relations and stuff. They don't dive too heavily into the race stuff. It's more so about like maybe the women's side of stuff because the main character is a female comedian. Like she was married to a dude. She was a housewife. Her dude wanted to be a comedian. He was going like amateur nights on the side and he sucked. And so turns out he was cheating on her. This is all the setup, so I'm not spoiling anything. Turns out he was cheating on her. So in a rage, she basically goes up on the comedy stage and just vents about it and is like super funny. So from that point forward, she's kind of attempting to be a comedian herself.
Bruh.
And like it's kind of just her struggle trying to break through the industry as a female comic. And as a lady who is struggling to kind of, because now she's single, like she divorced her husband, they have 2 kids together. She's like navigating all of that while also trying to have a comedy career. It's super interesting. It's really funny. Like Blue, I know you're a big Mel Brooks fan.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that, like it's not over the top silly, but it's that same kind of like back and forth banter where like every single line kind of sounds like a setup and punchline.
Okay.
Like it's really fun. Like the characters are all really likable, and the ones who are less likable because they're annoying are like lovably so.
Gotcha.
Like the main character's dad is like neurotic in like the weirdest way. Like he'll get really sensitive about specific things, and like he won't let them go, and like he'll annoy his wife and his daughter and the kid. Like it's a really really good show.
Okay.
Respect.
And outside of that, I'm in season 3 of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up a Girl in a Dungeon?
Yeah.
Yes,
show
that
has
is a
just
great
gotten-
anime. Yes.
Really? Okay. Because
Yes.
I was lukewarm on season 2. Like season 2 was like kind of losing. I was thinking maybe I won't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
Season 3 picked it up in terms of like the story it was trying to tell, but I feel like that show has been getting progressively more and more horny, and like I'm just not.
What was the title again?
Is it wrong?
Is it wrong to try to
Pick
pick up a
girls
girl
in a dungeon?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And is this surprising you right now?
Yeah, it's
But that's the thing.
Well-
That's the thing. Like season 1 wasn't that bad. Like season 1 gave you
That's
the
how they
impression.
got you.
Yeah, that's exactly how they got me. Season 1 made you think that it wasn't as kind of on the nose as it
Look,
actually is.
The
It's an
best
Easter-
sex stories
Easter-
have good stories below it.
I mean, it's an isekai, so I mean,
I'm just saying in general.
It's not an isekai though, is it?
No, it's not.
Because they act
Well,
like it is, but those characters
yeah.
live there. They're not from anywhere else. But they talk about like levels
Yeah,
and
that's
Yeah,
just their,
skills. And what, I'm like, it's so weird.
Well-
It's like a weird coding that doesn't make any sense in that world.
But
that's just their
it's-
culture.
it has the elements. It has a lot of the elements, so it's kind of, to me, like because I watched all of it, it's like, oh, okay. So I'm like, it has a little bit of everything in there, and each character definitely has their definitive role, and but
Well, I mean, isekai doesn't mean like game like. It means transported from one world to another. You know what I'm saying? I think their
Right,
culture
yeah.
is game like, and that's kind of
they treat like the world as like you would a video game. Like the characters level up when
Yes.
they go and do quests. Like they get experience
Yeah.
by like taking back rocks or whatever when they kill monsters. And like there's a dungeon. I don't know. There's mysteries and stuff that are interesting in that world. Like I kind of want to know more about what's going on there. And like I like the weird hierarchy where it's like, oh, these guys are hanging out on Earth, and then the guys
I
like
like
form factions
that.
with people.
yeah.
Yeah, like, that stuff is cool and
that's-
interesting.
They're called familiars. Families.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I know what
Thank
they're
you, Jeff.
called. I don't know.
But you didn't
that-
call them what they was called though. You
Yeah, we
called
need
them.
to revert to the
Yeah.
expert on that.
Thank
you, Jeff.
I mean, if people in chat have not watched it, that word would mean nothing
Yes.
to them.
Yeah. Well, let's just call it what it is.
They would just sound like I'm speaking Spanish.
Yeah, so we,
Get out here with fake news.
Nobody
Fake
ever
news on the
accused you
Stigma
of
Show.
speaking Spanish. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you've ever been accused of speaking Spanish.
Anyway.
Jeff had it trolled in like 10 minutes, and he's like, "I just gotta get it out. I
Yeah,
gotta."
just get it out of your system. But no, I was on the fence about leaving.
Yeah.
Third season has piqued my interest a little bit more than the second one has, but it's like every time they take one step forward in terms of like telling an interesting story, they sort of fall back on this weird obsession with the main character. Like every single female character is in love with the main character
Yeah,
of the show
man.
for no reason.
You ain't seen
like, the main
Tenchi
character
Muyo?
Belle.
Like that's how it works, bro.
Yeah.
I know what a harem is.
Yeah.
I get that, but I've seen good harems where the main character is charismatic and like you get it. You're like, okay, I see why this girl would be interested in this guy.
Mhm.
What the hell does Belle Crane do or have that creates this fervor around him?
Yo, he's like sheepishly cute. You know what I'm saying?
He's pure hearted, man.
Yeah, and he's the Argonaut. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Whatever.
You know about Jason
I don't
Lemon?
buy
You
it.
know about Jason
Ben
Lemon?
don't even watch the
And
show,
Argonaut?
yo.
I
You out
know.
here with fake news.
I don't know. I think Belle is super average. Like he's one of the least interesting characters in the. Well, he is the least interesting character in the show, to be honest.
I don't like how he's.
But it revolves around
There
him.
has been, to me, there's like when you think there's growth in him, like he's gotten stronger. It just the next season it just never seems like that. Like,
But
never,
that's anime though.
I know, but like
Yeah, because
Because
all the
remember
people he's
Hunter
fighting is
Hunter,
now
as
like a
soon
level
as
or
they
two
learn
higher
about
than
yeah,
him,
but
right?
like
everybody else they fight know about that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we know about freaking Key now. Oh, everybody else you fighting from now on knows about Key at an advanced level. Like, you ain't have one chance to shine on somebody yet who didn't know what that was. That's how anime be like, man. It's stressful, but you know, you just gotta keep leveling up, keep leveling up, keep leveling up. That's what it's about. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
he need another.
What is max
another
level in that
training
world?
arc.
Does anybody know?
I think the highest I heard people talk about was like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, that seems pretty low.
I mean, you know,
In D&D, that's not low.
I
It
guess.
depends on your.
Yeah, I guess D&D is the basis for all of these
Come on now.
isekai type shows anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, I see Lampy and Honey Money saying like I'm jealous and that Belle's just not my type.
exactly.
That's true.
You might be right.
Pulled one.
I need a protagonist who's, you know, a little more.
You got
All
long,
that-
luxurious
cool.
legs.
But then again, after you watch so many of them, it's like when certain ones are above us, like you know, it
Like
gives you that
Rimuru.
dull. Yeah, you know, and then you have like Kirito from, you know, Sword Art Online. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like people hate on that show, but that's a good example of a protagonist who I felt like I get why all the girls he met were like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" Like he was kind of like aloof and cool in a way where like he wasn't pressed about them. Like Belle will get in a girl's face and like do the dumb, "Oh, I'm super shy. Oh, don't touch me." But so, I don't know. You're right. He's not my type. You know who my type is?
Who's your type?
Has any of you guys watched Monogatari? Any of that series?
Nah, what's that?
No. It's a dude who gets bitten by a vampire, so he becomes like a weird half vampire.
Blade.
Daywalker.
I don't know, because like he kind of just gets weird immortality versus like actual vampire powers. It's a very strange story.
Okay.
But like the thing is, like it's essentially like a visual novel type thing where like he just meets tons of female protagonists, and they all don't love him, but they all form relationships with him, like either friendships, kind of like weird rivalries, or like maybe romantic entanglement, stuff like that. But it's like he's so weird. He's funny, he's very quick with it, but he's super weird. But he's also caring in a way where like he'll try to help them with whatever their problem is, despite them like either pushing him away or telling him. I don't know. It's a very strange story. If you're interested at all, check it out.
Sounds like
Monogatari.
that sounds like high school DXD.
Yeah. That sounds very similar to.
It's nothing like that, but
Well,
also maybe a little bit.
Right. Sounds very familiar.
It's maybe a little bit like
I'm
that.
just the character and the way you're explaining on how the whole helping out and, you know, each character's. I'm like,
Bell
yeah.
Crane. Sounds like the Bell Crane I know. You completely described Bell Crane. I'm just letting you know
I
that.
absolutely did not describe.
Did describe that. That he was the one girl. I can't go into details without spoiling it. Was in trouble, and he went out of his way to help her. He's super like, not very chill around people. He's very like nervous around women. Like, but all these women want him. But he's like super like dopey at times. But like when he meets someone, he'll go out of his way to help this person, despite them pushing him away or telling him, "No, we don't want your help." So I mean, I feel like you kind of just described him. So maybe you just
The difference is
maybe you don't know yourself, is what you're saying. You don't.
well, how did we get here?
Jeff's like, tell me about your childhood.
No, the difference.
Oh my
the way I see it is because Bell seems like a victim of circumstance. Like he'll be put in a situation, and like the only option is to help that person or be a jerk. It's like if he doesn't help the person, it's like he's basically framed as a person who is evil, uncaring, or whatnot. Any decent person in the situation he's dropped into, without any of his own volition, would do what he's doing. He just happens to be
Okay,
there.
Not in that world.
There it is, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because in that world, no.
Mhm.
To us, yeah, any decent person, but in that world, no, not any decent person would. A lot of people.
So that's basically this is sort of. Forgive me if no one has heard of this term.
Ooh.
And I apologize that we're going so long in this tangent here. But the born sexy yesterday trope. Has anyone heard of this trope?
Yeah. Like I woke up.
We're like-
I woke up like this.
like where
Sexy yesterday.
like we're a woman in like a movie or a TV show or whatnot
Yeah.
She has like a childlike mentality, like maybe she's an alien, maybe she's from like underwater.
That came
Like
from
a
that
Splash, Tom Hanks
weird
movie does this
science.
trope.
It came from Weird Science.
Exactly. Basically, a full grown, beautiful woman comes into the world not knowing a lot. And the thing is, the person who she first meets is a super average dude. And because she doesn't know anything, this super average dude now has a chance with her. Right. So, like, he's important to her, even though he's absolutely bland and uninteresting.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
This is the vibe I get from Belle. Like, and this is the excuse you guys are using. You're saying no one in that world is a decent person. The only thing Belle has going for him is that he's decent. Yeah. And that's it. That's his only trait. So all the girls are like, "Oh, I've never seen a guy who gives a shit about a woman's heart or whatever."
Yeah.
Like, so now he's special, but like that's not that special to me.
No, it shouldn't be because you don't live in that world.
Right. But to them, it's like, oh,
fair enough.
You know, nobody else helps.
You got to put your mind in that world, brother.
I mean, I prefer not to.
Oh, well, that's on you.
And it's not only just the women he meets, though. All the gods are after him as well. Like, you don't know why.
That's true.
But all the gods are after him.
Well, you do know why, because let me.
Well, yeah, they hit that in.
But I mean that doesn't help because like they're gonna need to explain why.
They will,
because Belle himself does nothing to hint at even why there's this much interest.
Yeah, they do.
I don't think he does.
That was like at the end of the first season. They started talking about it
when he's fighting, when they're trying to take down that creature in the dungeon.
Yes.
The Argonaut ability kind of starts to tell you some of that.
I wasn't trying to say it, but
the rare ability
like,
that he has.
All that is lost on me. Belle continues to be corny in my mind. So.
But you to watch it. So let's wait till fourth season comes out. You finish that and you let me know your thoughts.
All right, I will. I'll get back to you. True. But that's pretty much it for me. Anyone else has stuff to share? And I'm sorry, Koenig said, did he just call Tom Hanks bland? I did not call Tom Hanks bland. The character Tom Hanks plays in Splash is bland.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't have much. I don't have much at all. I haven't been watching or playing much. Obviously, I've been playing a little bit of Smash. I've been doing some practice with some different characters. Seeing how that's gonna go. You know, maybe come up with a second main, a third, a fourth, or something like that. Get a little bit of practice in. I don't usually get the practice. Usually, my practice time is during Smash Sunday. So getting the practice during the week is going to kind of, give me a little bit of an edge. You know what I'm saying? We had a room up a couple times this week, which has been real fun. People come in the Discord.
Did you? Because I was waiting. waiting.
We called you.
Said 10 minutes. You said 10 minutes. And I was there for about 20. If y'all ain't in the Discord, you mess it up.
It was about 25. It was about 25. Because I didn't see your message, but I saw Stu was like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna leave in a minute to go and eat." So I was like, "Oh well." I didn't want to come, and then he's gonna be leaving in 10 minutes. But
it's all good. I'm just bugging.
No. A little bit of Smash, some anime, and I've been the last episode of Young Justice. Not the last episode, but the most recent episode was really, really good. I think this season has been phenomenal as far as writing and relating to the real world and real life problems, which to me has always been an issue in DC, where they don't know how to modernize characters and make them appeal to issues that people have nowadays, as opposed to being based on society from like the 50s and 60s when these characters were created. So I think Young Justice this season has been phenomenal. Just a small bit. It's not a spoiler, but there's one character who was an alien who inhabits a young Muslim girl's body because the girl dies, and she takes over her body, and she becomes a superhero. She goes to the girl's parents, and she asks,
I remember that scene.
Yeah, she asks them what it means to be a Muslim, and the whole episode is her trying to come to a realization of what that means, because in their worlds there's people called gods. You have like dark side, you have the new gods, you have that stuff. So when she's told it's in, everything we do is in the service of Allah, our God, and she's like, well, I've met gods and they weren't always so benevolent. You know what I'm saying? They weren't good. And she starts to go over the reason why there's a difference. And she asks her, well, why did damn, I can't think of the girl's name. Why did she wear her hijab? And she was like, hijab. And she was like, well, a lot of women wear the hijab for their own reasons, or they wear it in respect to their parents until they come to their own reason. And I think that episode was just very beautiful of going through that. And, you know, religion, while can be convoluted in certain stances, I think this did a great job of not only explaining that to the character, but explaining it to the person who was watching the episode about what it means. And it was a great job. Another episode dealt with a child who had autism and
Mhm.
how the parent was dealing with that and stuff. I just think it's very well done this season. Not only just the DC lore and stuff, but it's dealing with real world issues, which makes it endears you to these characters. Oh, yeah, I can relate to that. Oh, I can relate to that, and it made this season like this is the best Young Justice season, hands down. Last season was like a 2. This season is definitely to me like a
Oh
9 or a
dang.
10.
Wait, you talking about Outsiders?
Last season
With the social
with
media stuff?
that part was okay. I didn't like the part with um Markovia and stuff like that with the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that
yeah.
part that
Mm.
part was a drag down. But I did like Beast Boy.
Like the earthquake prince
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. That was
Geomancer.
that was the part where I kind of fell off. Like all those brand new characters, and then that guy just being kind of uninteresting. And then once again, they introduced Cyborg, and Cyborg continues to be boring.
No, he was cool in this
Wasn't
one. And
bad.
then
I mean, I don't know. They introduced him. He was boring. I don't know if he gets cool later,
Right. And then,
but
Yeah.
Cyborg stays being boring outside of anything other than Teen Titans.
so this was
okay.
last season wasn't like I said, but I like that part of the story, which was the main focus of the story, was what kind of didn't do it for me. But this seems like I don't know. I had to double check, and I should have checked already
Yeah.
if there's different writers. But like this season, it's just been like completely different. I don't know if there's something
Yeah,
was
no, they
working
definitely
towards.
pulled away from their formula. I
Mhm.
remember,
That's good to hear.
Beast Boy's growth in that last season was amazing, and his perspective on things, and how just seeing all these characters grow up. I mean, look at Aqualad. Let's start
Right.
from
Right.
jump. But anyway, we're not going to talk that much. We're not deep diving Young Justice, but it's a great show. I think if you guys have the time, definitely check it out.
Yeah, and like you said with Aqualad, they made him gay, which didn't take away from his character. Like his character he's still caught around. Like his character has only progressed. Like you meet them in this first season and you see what they become now, and you're like, oh man, yeah. Like I love when they do that. I hate when they make a character something just for the sake of making a character something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let it be something normal, not something big that we need to, oh, this is what this is going on. No, it subtly happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the character was who the character was. Like it never took away from the character, or they tried to bring that to the forefront of what he was. Like, because this shouldn't be something new. Just because you're just now introducing it doesn't mean it's new to anybody else, and it shouldn't be the
Right.
focal point of the story for you to try to get into that particular audience. Just let it be something that's going on in the world. Aside from that, I watched the first episode of Atlanta, season 3.
Oh, how are you feeling?
Man, that episode is trippy. I thought it was very, very good. And
Do you
It
know
had
about
like
that
a-
story?
I do, and it had like underlining messages too. Like I went to look up to see if that really happened, and it's something like that simply did really happen. I was like, oh,
Yeah, like based on like
Yeah.
true events.
I was
This is
like,
the
oh,
The craziest part about that episode is that Ern wakes up at the end, right? So his dream was that all that happened and the kids survived. That's what his dream was. It had a happy ending. That is
Right.
so heavy to me
Mhm.
and sad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And like the words that I can't say what the mom said, but she was basically telling, and this was something that they told kids back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be good, otherwise, like you need to tote the line and to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, you're putting yourself at risk. And unfortunately, whether that was with the cops or any rogue group out there just doing random stuff to young black kids because they were doing something that they felt they shouldn't have been doing, and it was their way of punishing them was doing something over the top, which we've seen with like Rodney King and all that jazz. I'm not gonna get into that. It's a little heavy, but they definitely had those underlying tones when the mom told him that, like, "Yo, listen, you need to be good, or these people are gonna they're gonna get you." Like, and he came to the realization, like, he went home and started doing some chores. Like, he knew what he did. He's like, "Yeah, I need to get it together." She wasn't lying. Any spaghetti in the fridge?
Yeah, like immediate vindication in terms of what her point was. Like I felt a little off about that because like the way he got into like that super bad situation was like through no fault of his own.
yeah.
Weirdly
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
He was just celebrating.
but like prior to that, he was screwing up. So it was weird that they took a leap to say, all right, from this point, we're now gonna screw you into this position. I feel like that kind of speaks to how like, okay, yeah, like as like a black person in this country, like you can make mistakes and you can sometimes be punished very heavily for them, and other times you don't have to do anything at all.
No.
Like you can find yourself in like a terrible situation just based off of pretty much nothing.
And they thought they were helping him. The guidance counselor who called, services thought she was helping him. Oh, I need to get you out of there. And that's what she thought, she was helping him. Everyone he came across
That's at least a pretense.
Right, thought she was helping him. And the thing to me was like when he went to the cop, was like, listen, this is what's going on. I want to go home. He kind of like was like, oh, I see what you're doing. And then it was like, oh yeah, he just said he was a little bit tired. Take him home. It just shows you. And then the one person who was trying to help him wind up, succumbing to, unhappy circumstances. And that was like, no offense, unless she got the drop on her, I don't see her putting hands on her. I don't see her coming out there 1v1 the winner in that one. I don't. So unless she
it happened though.
It did. And I was just like, oh man, she must have like really got the drop on her. Like, hey, can you hand me that? Like, and that just shows you another thing too. Like, anytime you go to someone else's house and you're in their environment, you always need to be paying attention to what's going on around you. Especially going into a place you're not familiar with, and you might be the minority in that situation. You need to always be aware of your surroundings, and that was another.
It might be you either is or you isn't.
Well, that's the thing. Either you're alive, or you ain't alive. You know what I'm saying? Besides Atlanta, I did go see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. The best part about it was a lot of the cameos. I do feel like there was some squandered.
Oh my god!
Some squandered, stuff. Don't want to go into any details, but it was good. It was definitely an 8. But could it have been a 10? Yes, it could have. And it's just some things that I feel like they didn't touch on enough. Some things they dwelled on, and some things that didn't need to be in the show, like certain parts. But yeah, that's all I've been playing, and obviously Elden Ring, and that's it. That's all I got.
Nice.
Yo, I ain't seen the movie yet, okay? But y'all know me. I hate multiverses. And the fact that
like it's right there in the title.
You know what I'm saying? One of the first things Jeff said was the cameos. Man, if Marvel has not been using cameos and multiverses for any and everything for the last couple movies,
yeah, they're really
bruh, they milking the hell out of that. Oh my goodness.
If it's done right, it's good. If it's not, Spider-Man was a great way of how to handle those introductions.
No, it wasn't.
You didn't like? I thought the Spider-Man multiverse revelations were amazing. Even though you thought they were coming, you didn't know they were coming, and when they did, I think everybody in the theater stood up. Like people were like going nuts. Like when they showed Andrew. I mean, it's not a spoiler now. If you haven't seen it,
it's not a spoiler.
Shame on you. Are you really living? But like when they showed Andrew Garfield, it was like, oh what? And then I was like,
it is kind of shameless fan service,
right?
In that way, but like. I agree that it's well done. Like it's like if you're gonna do fan service, do it like this, where you actually do get like an emotion, like an emotional hit from your audience who's like waiting to see this kind of stuff. But like I could get why maybe like oh that's kind of cheap. Like tell your own story. Don't borrow from this other movie's story by having this character show up or whatever, right?
Well, it's that, and they really have the license to do anything crappy or amazing because of the onset of the multiverse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. I will say,
and like people just gonna eat it up because it's canon.
Not always, though. I will feel like that if it's bad, it's bad. It's just it's hard Here's the thing: it's a lot easier to do multiversal stuff than it is to deal with time travel. Time travel is a lot more convoluted. Multiversal stuff is a little cleaner to go through, if that makes sense.
I think that's absolutely backwards.
No, multiversal stuff is cleaner. When you start messing with time travel and stuff, it like
as long as you make rules and stick to them with time travel, I think you can get really good time travel stories. When people can make messy time travel stories for sure.
Besides your favorite,
the concept of a multiverse inherently is messy.
I can see that if it's handled properly. Same thing. You saw that with well, no, you.
Yeah, but isn't Loki the same thing when they're mixing the multiverse and time travel? So it's like the same thing.
It's a mess.
They're supposed to in that instance with Loki, they're kind of saying that time travel and the multiverse are the same thing. They're saying they're one in the same.
More license to do whatever.
That's where
I don't know about that.
They're saying they're one.
How dare they make such a proclamation?
They're saying that any different outcome of an event would create an alternate timeline, also which would be an alternate universe. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's the multiverse theory.
So that's what they're saying. Like time travel and the multiverse are one and the same. But Doctor Strange, like I said, did a good job of this. They just didn't do it to the extent that it should have been done. It's like, oh yeah, I want pasta, but you're just gonna go get some noodles, no sauce, no meat. You know what I'm saying? You're just gonna get some noodles and you should be happy with that. I feel like they could have went a little bit further. You're gonna get some...
be happy with your noodles.
This man just got served noodles, no sauce, no meat, no basil on the top, no nuts.
It was good noodles, but
butter noodles.
Added more. It was good noodles. It wasn't bad noodles, but they could have added more to the noodles. You know
they were well cooked.
They were well cooked.
Wow.
At least it wasn't ramen. So I mean.
Oh man.
All right. Did that do it for you guys? How about you, Fast Stacks? What you been watching, gaming, reading?
Man, for me, I've just been playing a lot of Bless, still trying to max that out. And other than that, like, I've been watching Spy Family, that anime that just came out, which is pretty good. If you haven't seen it yet, it just came out on a Crunchyroll. Spy Family is a good one.
Oh yeah,
it's also on Hulu.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things.
Yeah, it's on Hulu too, yeah. I was sleeping on that, but when I watched it, that little girl is just the funniest.
She is the glue to that whole deal.
Can I say something about that?
Have at it, man.
Anya is such a great child in anime because she actually speaks like a child. Very rarely do you see that in anime. You have kids talking very articulately, even though they're saying dumb kitty shit. Excuse my language, but even though they're saying dumb kitty stuff, it's not the way that Anya's saying. She's mispronouncing words. She's misunderstanding things. Very like what a kid would do. She's just la 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 hanging around.
This is English dubbed?
No.
I mean,
subbed.
I think it's subbed. It's subbed. So she's
it's subbed.
It's actually written where she's mispronouncing.
Okay, gotcha.
Things. Yeah, and that's the greatest part about it. I think she actually feels like a child. You know. But sorry, Fast X, I don't want to jump on what you were saying, bro.
No, but yeah, that show I've been watching. I was like, oh man, it looks pretty good. Because I mean, you've had a lot of shows like that, and like every other show, you're like, what does this bring a little differently? Since, how they brought them together. And of course, she's a telepath, so she can literally make or break, you know what I mean? A lot of stuff, per se. But just
I had no idea. Like, there's a supernatural element to this show?
Yeah, so far she's the only part. So she...
yeah.
That's some of the basic dynamic, is hearing her reading other people's mind and how she interprets it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah. So like she's an experiment, and so they kind of put that element in there, and then they have a whole family element in there. It's like to use Jeff's analogy, pasta, but this has the whole meat, the sauce, and
they all work together,
and they all.
You know what I'm saying? They had the noodles, they cooked it in
Nice.
the sauce, and then they put the meat in there and they cooked that in the sauce. And it was all
Yeah,
just
They
baking at the
seasoned it while
same
it was
time.
in the water.
And they
Yeah,
put
Like,
it,
oh
yeah.
they
man.
put it in the fridge overnight because it'll taste better. Always tastes better the next day.
So you have that, and one interesting show that I'm still trying to get used to is The Last Summoner.
I just started watching that. I did not know
So,
anybody else was onto that. That Chinese animation is something, bro. I like it.
so I mean, I'm like, I mean, there are a lot of shows that I've seen that has the same setup,
Yes, exactly.
but
What is the setup?
this dude, I just said
Regular
ramen, not too,
regular.
yeah. It's just a dude going about his business, and he makes ramen, and all of a sudden, a goddess just shows up.
Because it's so good. It's so good that some
Now,
food can entice the gods, and he just made the perfect bowl. one day.
right,
Oh,
right.
man.
Now it sounds stupid, but I will say this though: it has the whole, summoner element with spirits and the fighting, and you know what I mean. And it does get in, especially the scenes with the Watchers and the Destroyers. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, you'll know what I mean. But it has like the summon spirits fight, and of course the main character can take damage or even die if they aren't careful.
Mhm.
So like a JoJo stand.
Yes,
Or
you
like,
know what I mean.
what was that? Shaolin? Not Shaolin.
There
Never
was a anime about some angels recently. It was called like Silver something.
Shaman King.
Oh, Shaman King. Yeah, they just redid that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
So I still like the old Shaman King better than the new version. Just my opinion.
I never got into that show.
I've seen bits and pieces. I did watch it, the new one, through, but the in the beginning because it was TV at the time, so it was like you catch some here and there, so never like all the way through.
Mhm. So you have that, and of course I'm waiting on Overlord to come back. That's gonna be interesting. There's a few other shows that waiting on too that are passing my mind right now, but
Have
yeah,
you
other than
watched
that,
Skeleton Knight, Born in and was it Skeleton Knight? Born in
not yet. I'm letting that I'm gonna binge watch that after a while. I'm letting it kind of go for a little bit before I watch that. Of course you have that other soccer anime
Yeah.
as well. So but
Wait, what soccer anime?
He said, "Hold on,
I feel like
sports
anime.
Mm.
it's called
No, because I feel like I remember. Yeah, I remember seeing a promo or something for like a newer like soccer. show.
There's two of them. One of them is called Ayo Ayashi.
Yep, Honey Money got it. Ayoashi.
Yeah. Ayashi. But there's also another one that hasn't come out yet. Blue something. But it's supposed.
I have heard of that one.
That's the one that I'm kind of waiting because that looks pretty sick itself.
That might have been that blue one. Is probably the one I might have seen a promo for. Because it was like, oh, this looks really cool.
So
it was like the first vibe I got.
But that other soccer anime is not that bad. I mean, it's not really crazy over the top, but I mean, it is what it is. But other than that, that's really it for me. That and of course, anime store and all that, getting some new anime stuff. Just trying to keep a different variety of things out there these days. So other than that, that's it for me.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks everyone for sharing. We'll move to our first topic. Weirdly
right.
enough, we ended on soccer.
Man, you just,
Yeah, that took a while. But weirdly enough, we ended up on soccer.
You got one person.
Oh wait, Blue didn't talk.
It's just because I've been talking through everybody else's stuff that you
I could
felt
have
like
sworn you went before.
exactly
All right, go ahead.
right.
My bad.
I feel you.
My bad.
It's all me. I've been talking a lot. Yo, I've been off the scene for a bit. You know what I mean? I've been working really hard. Running two jobs, like I said. Thanks, man. But when I do have a little chance to sit down, I have been catching up on Overlord. I fell behind, but I'm doing season 3 now. And it just keeps getting crazier. He's not going to stop. Whether he falls into supremacy or he plans it, I don't think he's going to stop. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Those animes, I love them because it's just sense of accomplishment after sense of accomplishment after sense of accomplishment. Um, been doing that. I watched He's Expecting on Netflix. Have you guys checked that out yet? It's not
I've
anime.
not even heard of this at all.
This is
He's expecting.
so it's in a world very similar to our own, but 50 years ago, heterosexual men started becoming pregnant.
Okay.
And this hotshot ad guy in Japan, who was kind of sleeping around a little bit, ends up getting pregnant by one of his really good friends. His friends with benefits, if you will. He initially wants an abortion because he feels like it's going to ruin his career, and he didn't plan on having a baby, and it's so rare of a condition he didn't even want to get out. But the way that he starts looking at it, and then he gets kind of pushed to, there's a couple circumstances that cause him to want to keep the baby. It is such an interesting way to look at if men could get pregnant. And it's not to say that, it's to diminish the women's experience. Actually, it runs alongside the women's experience.
So in this, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
In this world, it's that men can now also get
That's
pregnant,
correct.
or does it swap?
No, they can also
So
get
women can. Okay, and you're saying it's like a rare thing where, like, oh, just there's a chance that a dude can get pregnant.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically the plot of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Jr.
Yeah, have y'all watched that movie?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really well thought out and updated. Yeah, I think it was a fun watch, especially me having a young family and thinking about kids sometime soon in the future. I think it was a fun watch. Coning
Conan wants to know what hole does the baby come out.
Oh,
You're gonna have to watch.
I
You're
knew
gonna have
that
to
was
watch.
coming. I knew that was
You're gonna have to
coming.
watch. They addressed that. They addressed that. You have to watch. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you for free.
That sounds. I could almost guess that sounds like a C-section.
Yo, hey, you have to watch this. It's interesting, and they even talk about like the differences in the male pregnancies versus the female pregnancies, just because of basic anatomical differences.
Yeah, somebody really put some thought into
Yes, man, they really did. It was interesting. But yeah, that He's Expecting was pretty cool.
Is it like a K drama, J drama?
J drama, that's the closest. Yeah,
Okay.
J drama.
J drama. All about them J's. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want them J's. GTA 5. I'm back on that. I'm starting to do the agency stuff. I'm doing the Dr. Dre missions. It's all really cool. Like GTA continues to impress me. GTA 5 continues to impress me. It's if they put a subscription service in plan, it would be totally warranted. And I'm pretty sure that's what's coming
They
out for
did.
6. Well,
Yeah.
the way that they did that subscription service wasn't necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm saying like to play the game if they put one in there.
Oh, you mean like a WoW monthly
Exactly.
subscription.
Yeah. It would I
Okay.
feel like it would be warranted. The amount of content that they give you on a regular basis and just they don't even patch that often because they don't need to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this I streamed it this week. Was it Friday? And I was in my submarine for way too long.
It looked like a transformer, and it was like bright yellow.
It really
Right.
did. It did. It was a bad choice. It was very slow. But anyway, GTA 5 has been filling up a lot of my time. I have been practicing Smash, trying to get my Larry up there, but the rankings just keep killing me, man. Every time
It's rough, man.
I just get one loss and it just races feels like 3 of my wins. And yeah, I'm not gonna start ranting about that, but it's a sick addiction. Yeah, and I think besides that, I've been playing this one mobile game that has actually been impressing me, Micro RPG. And you have a character in the center of a field. You choose 3 weapons, 3 weapon ranges. You have a short range, mid range, long range. There's enemies that try and surround you and get to you to attack you from different ranges depending on what enemies they are, and you basically have to choose how to attack them. Basically, you're kind of looking
One
like
second.
yeah.
I can hear an echo from Jeff's
Whoa.
mic when Blue's talking.
Oh, I don't think I have him. I don't have the.
Yo.
That's
But
weird.
this is the kind of game we're looking at.
That looks very colorful.
It's beautiful. It's free. The ads are only 30 seconds. And I've been playing this a lot on and off the job. This has been taking my time when I just need to relax for a little bit and don't want to. Yeah, it looks cute. This micro RPG, the weapon is sentient. Yeah, they all got like little cute faces on them. So but they don't say anything, but they like level up and stuff. But yeah, definitely
Neat.
yeah, that's what I've been playing. I always forget to acknowledge mobile games. You know what I mean?
Respect.
Yeah, because there's a lot of time and effort put into them, and I put a lot of time into it too. And I should really, just like you said, Jeff,
Like,
respect
highlight 'em
and
a bit more?
highlight that they're entertaining.
I've always liked the golf game. I haven't played that in a while, but the golf would always kind of take up a lot of my time.
I
Okay.
think golf for
Like a
friends
like a
would be
particular
good.
one.
Golf with friends would be good on mobile.
Nah, because you'd never get online, bro. You'd be like, "Oh, I'll be on in 10 minutes," and then I'll just be sitting there for like 20.
25.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That does it now.
Yes. Sorry.
Right? We're sure everyone has
good.
gotten a chance to
Yeah.
figure it out. All right, so let's move on to our first topic, FIFA and EA. We heard some time ago that there were some negotiations going on because FIFA was essentially asking EA for $1 billion every year or every certain number of years. I'm forgetting now. But they were asking for way more money in order for them to continue using the FIFA license. And EA was like, no, we're not going to pay you that much money to keep this license. And so EA essentially called their bluff and went like, all right, we will no longer use the FIFA name. But apparently, like, FIFA is not like the NBA or the NFL where like all of the soccer clubs are beholden to like that overhead organization. Like FIFA kind of just organizes them for the World Cup, which is like a separate thing. Like the matches that they play regularly are their own thing. Therefore, all the teams have individual contracts that they sign with FIFA and with EA, and now EA can just forego FIFA and go straight to these clubs. So I don't know how much money the clubs got for their licenses in the first place. I don't know if this is going to somehow get them more with FIFA not being in the picture, or if EA will have to pay more to, retain the clubs, because there's some negotiating that can be done, I think.
Oh yeah,
right? Like,
there's some wiggle room.
Yeah.
But as of right now, FIFA has claimed that they will make their own soccer game. They have no developer attached.
That's gonna be hard,
mind you. They're
Yeah.
just saying like, we'll take our name and make our own soccer game.
Yeah.
And EA's like, oh well, we'll keep making the same worldwide selling soccer game with all of the licenses and stuff that you guys are used to and like and love, and it'll just not have the FIFA branding. So there's one here, there's one there. What do you guys take on this whole fiasco? Like, to me, it sounds like somebody effed up.
Yeah, let's look at NBA Live and 2K.
Like,
Just saying.
That's the only other, legitimate soccer game out there that's actually had some success. So I don't see them. And what developer are they going to find that has the roots and the know-how to make a soccer game that's competitive to
EA?
I don't know what to call it. EA's going to call theirs like you spell, was it A-Fifth? That's how you spell FIFA backwards. That's what they're going to call it. A-Fifth. It's in the game. And I don't know. That's, to me, I think, like I said, they tried to get greedy. But why would they get greedy now? I feel like when it was at its height, that's when I would have kind of gotten, hey, we like the whole Star Wars.
Is it not at its height?
I think it was a lot more. I think it's popular. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a whole.
All right, I think we should be back live now. Apologies, everyone in the chat. Maybe, unless they're members. I was having this issue a little while ago where my computer was freezing in the middle of stuff I was streaming. I do think it was a Windows update problem, because that's what my computer decided to do, like right now in the middle of the show. Hopefully we won't have this problem again. My apologies. Well, maybe look into that. But Jeff, you were in the middle of some FIFA EA stuff. Sorry if you lost your train of thought. Jeff, hold on. They're saying Jeff is muted, which shouldn't be the case. It's just, what's the name has just undone everything.
Well, ain't no love in the heart of the city, ain't it? Good night.
You guys should be able to hear the crew now.
Me. So yeah, Pez, A5.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna find a studio that can make a soccer game comparable to them. Especially, I mean, this is what they've done. Like when you think of soccer, you think of FIFA. Obviously, you know a lot of people play Pez, but like I don't see them shopping it around to. Yeah, I don't even know who they would give it to. Who would be? Because when you think of sports games, that's who you think of. You think of EA.
Yeah.
That's where their money comes in. Like everything else they make might not be that great, especially as of recently. But when you think of EA, you think of sports games. I mean, Apex now, but definitely sports games.
Well, see, they also charge like this whole loot box fiasco that like, and that,
yeah.
and FIFA is known for that atrocity.
Yeah, that's true.
Is just like you literally have to pay to win in FIFA because of the amount of money that's being spent on those boxes to get the players and stuff like that. It was insane. But
That's what
yeah.
Blue could go to Blue's point where it might be at its peak because of that, because of the loot boxes, and maybe they see that maybe that's where how much money they're making on it because it was just a random time for them to want that money now. Like, what was the reason? Like, there had to be a reason why. You know what? They're making so much money off these loot boxes. Like, the game's $60, but the average player is probably spending at least another 120 on the game just on in-game purchases. So,
like Lampy might have some insight. He says FIFA's been bleeding money for the last 2 to 3 years now. They needed the extra money, and this is one of the only ways they can get it because FIFA doesn't control the clubs or broadcast directly.
Which is
so that's kind of like a E3 type situation.
And I think they also like very recently got like a new head guy, like someone like some new boss is in charge of like FIFA. I feel like I heard. And therefore, you know, oftentimes when a company is struggling and you hire somebody new, they're like, hey, this is my drastic plan to get things back on track. And like, I don't know. It reads to me as like just a blatant misunderstanding of kind of what that relationship was. Like in the video game world, especially in the sports world, the entity that holds the license, they just sell the rights to use the license. FIFA saying like we want more money for that isn't unreasonable, but like the amount they asked for seemed to be
right,
and the fact that they like weren't gonna budge on it. Like maybe you start that high,
right,
and then like maybe like end somewhere in the middle. But like I don't know, EA might have been bogarting too. Like EA is like, hey, look, we're the ones who do all the work. We just use the name. We don't necessarily need it. It's just for our authenticity purposes. So either stick with what you got or we'll walk. And maybe that's how the conversation went.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean,
EA doesn't owe FIFA any favors, do they? Like they do make the game. Like it's just the branding is what FIFA was bringing to the table.
I mean, all EA has to do is send out the representatives and contact all these clubs that and be like, hey, look, you still want in? Yes or no? And what is the cost going to be? Simple as that. And just leave FIFA just to hang out to dry because regardless of the fact, like you said, it's just a name. You know what I mean? As long as you can still use the same clubs, have the
that's
players.
Like the most important part.
Right? Yeah, the leagues, you know. I don't remember if they can use World Cup, if it's the name World Cup in the game.
Yeah,
because
I don't think they could.
No,
I think that
because it's under FIFA, so
right.
It would have to be called something. But I mean, who cares?
The World Goblet.
You know.
Let me say
the Earth Mug.
Mr. Blatter got fired from FIFA for taking bribes.
Wow.
because he was broke.
Okay.
Corruption.
Okay, so they can use as long as FIFA's not at the beginning. Okay, good, Lampy. Yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
So I mean, the only people that are losing out, is FIFA, really. That's.
I'm just wondering, like, why they wouldn't. But that's again, that goes back to my point of me thinking, like, okay, the people in charge over at FIFA are like, oh, this video game thing over there makes us money. How do we get more money out of it? Or how do we do it ourselves so that we can keep all the money that thing gets? Like, they just don't understand that there's a lot that goes into that. Because, like, how do you not just decide at the end of that? Like, if EA turns you down, why would you not decide, like, all right, well, fine, we'll take the money you are giving us versus we're going to make our own FIFA game? That sounds like such a hollow threat, because that's going to cost you tons of money to try and put out.
Right. And if these clubs sign with EA, you can't use the clubs.
Well, unless
it might not be exclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And 9 times out of 10, that's usually what it is. It's like the remember that whole thing with
they might say we want to be open.
Remember Madden?
I mean, the only exclusive one was the only exclusive one was EA and NFL. I don't think any other sports league has done something similar to that, unless I'm mistaken. But like, that was an anomaly, and that ruined 2K in terms of like the football games they were making.
They couldn't do nothing.
So I mean, if EA wants to be really petty, they could try and approach all of these different clubs with exclusive rights. But I don't know. I feel like the people who are in charge of soccer clubs probably won't be as short-sighted as the people who are controlling FIFA, and might know that it's better not to sign an exclusive deal because they can get paid the same amount of money or more money by just licensing out their club again to whoever else is making a game. Because they already do that now. Like PES uses clubs as well.
Right.
If EA uses clubs, if some other entity like FIFA is like, hey, we got a dev attached, we want to use you guys for our stuff, they probably have a pre-existing relationship. They'd be like, yes, give us money, and yet you can also use our likeness. Like, it's a win-win for them. Like, unless EA goes nuts and says, oh, that $1 billion that FIFA wanted, we'll give it to you guys so that it's exclusive now, because they're just that petty.
Yeah.
Hey man, I've seen crazy things happen. I'm not gonna lie.
But we all know that when certain sports games have a tag and they've been around a long time, it's hard for a substitute to come in and even overtake it. So just because the longevity of that sports game. So
that's true.
So this is the question though, and you're absolutely right. This is the question. These soccer game fans, are they more attached to the name EA or are they more attached to the name FIFA? That's the question.
That is a good question, because one of the first comments in our Discord about it was someone who was very confused about the relationship. They was like, oh no, I'm going to miss not seeing EA on the title of the box. And it's like, that's not how this works at all. So the thing is, like, this person who apparently plays the games, is a fan of the games, was thinking about the FIFA name and was saying, I'm going to buy the thing that says FIFA.
Yeah.
Assuming that if they, divide, then EA is the one who's not involved anymore.
Exactly.
So if FIFA did somehow release a product onto the market,
the
name does carry weight. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they were under the impression that the clubs were with FIFA. They probably didn't read the article. They were just like, oh, there's a split. Oh, obviously FIFA would get the kids and EA are kind of like...
But that's FIFA, but that's the whole point, right? There's a lot of people who won't read the article. They'll just go to buy their next football game, their soccer game, and it'll say FIFA, and they'll be like, this is the one I want.
And you figure EA is going to do something, some type of, marketing to
They've already started.
Yeah.
They've already started. Like, their Twitter has, like, all the, what's it called now? FC, EA FC Club? Something like that? No, because FC stands for Football Club.
Yeah.
Like, FC is the thing that they keep putting everywhere. So, like, they're already trying to see that it's a different thing now. I can't actually remember the name, and that's bad. That's bad. I read the article. I know this is happening.
No, it's FC.
I can't remember the name of the new game. It's just FC, FIFA, EA
but,
FC.
I
EA
mean,
FC.
if EA does it right now, by time FIFA, even if they try to get developers or whatever, by time that's all done, EA would have still the grip, regardless of what the name is, because even though it doesn't say FIFA, if FIFA is no longer associated, EA is still making the soccer
they're making
games.
A FIFA quote unquote quality game. For sure.
If the quality is still
3 coming out too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if the quality is still there, people are still gonna buy the soccer game regardless.
Right.
So and
Now,
then
my only question is, there's going to be confusion at least.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe they will buy whatever this other FIFA thing is, but honestly, yeah, FIFA the organization will not get a game out anytime soon. Like
No.
EA will have probably multiple attempts to sell you their new game where they tell their audience this is what it's called now before FIFA can get a thing that's called FIFA on the shelves.
Yeah. Because they're
Or
not gonna.
confuse somebody who wouldn't know.
They're not gonna buy a game studio. They're not gonna make it in house. They're gonna outsource it to someone else, and
And they're gonna have to pay them.
yeah, and they're still
Right.
not gonna get the amount of money that they were hoping for. That game, even the first year, if it's an okay game, they're still gonna lose money on that. They're not gonna make all the money that they're trying to get from EA. They were better off keeping this deal,
Doing literally nothing.
Yeah, keeping this
and
deal,
getting paid by EA.
Yeah.
and maybe secretly shopping around another studio to get more money from. But in the meantime, you would still be getting that cash.
Right.
That
At least you were getting something.
Yeah.
I mean, now you ain't getting crap. So, yeah, that's
Koenig A loves all says if FIFA development starts now, it won't be live for another 4 years. Clubs is not going to leave EA money on the table for that long. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think they're still coming out with 2020, FIFA 2023. I think that's still on the table. Because that's usually like a September release the year before, if I'm not mistaken. Usually Madden
Probably,
FIFA
yeah.
come around now like that late.
whatever the contracts and
Yeah.
stuff are. But you know what? EA probably wouldn't even want to wait that long. Like, because
I'm talking about
it's not in there.
September. There's
Like,
another game. There hasn't 2023 usually comes out in 2022. So usually
yeah, but do we know for sure that one is gonna have FIFA
Released.
branding? Even if the contract allows it, I wouldn't be surprised if EA changed all
he's
those
like,
names
you
and
know
stuff
what? We got the game
right
Let's
away.
take 'em
Yeah,
out.
like why even?
yeah.
Unless they could get an existing contract with the clubs before that comes out.
But they wouldn't need it then because they would have had that with the FIFA deal. All they're doing is tripping the FIFA name
That's
out.
unless the FIFA deal was in conjunction with the clubs and the name. Because what I'm saying
Probably.
is, did EA go through FIFA to get the contract with the clubs?
That's what it looks like.
Honestly, I honestly don't know. It seems like that was the case because
Because
now
they
if the
wouldn't be
clubs
able
are
to-
now saying like, "Oh, we'll talk directly to EA," then yeah,
Right.
maybe FIFA was the middleman before that.
Yeah, well, they'd have to, like Lampy said, I mean, they'd have to finish out whatever the original contract was.
It'd be way too soon, yeah.
Yeah, and once the contract actually dies out, then they can do whatever they want after that.
Right.
So, but yeah, depending on, if Lampy says 2023, so
Yeah, I don't know what that contract would say, but I'd be surprised if, as long as EA is paying whatever monies they owe, and like if they're not free to just not use the name. Like it's not like they're not making the game and not paying their dues. Like, is it in the contract that the game has to be called FIFA?
Yeah, that's a good.
That I don't know.
I'll get.
I would have
Because all of the branding has said
I would have
FC.
to assume so. I would have to assume so.
I'll
At
find
least.
out. I got a guy. I'll
Yeah, go talk to your guy, Jeff.
find out.
But on that note, we'll move on to our next topic, and we'll try to push through these last two. Activision, Blizzard King, 3 companies in one. One of the biggest publishers on the planet have, needless to say, have had a problem with diversity, right? Some brilliant minds,
They've been
quote unquote
trying.
brilliant minds, have come up with a sort of like an AI-driven computer program that evaluates based on a bunch of metrics how diverse a game's character roster is, and like they grade it on a 10-point scale, I believe. For example, this is a tweet that went out because they were bragging about this thing. This tweet that went out that was showcasing how this was used to evaluate a couple of Overwatch characters. I think they used Anna from Overwatch, who was the grandmother sniper.
Whoa.
Well, she's not a grandmother; she's a mother. She's an older.
Dang.
Lady. I don't think Farrah has any kids.
No.
But anyway, so she's an old lady sniper. They basically gave her a 7 out of 10 because despite her being a person of color, being outside of a certain age range, being a woman, she was straight, and she also was feminine presenting or something. So like
No,
she
she
lost
had
points.
zero sexuality.
She had zero sexuality. No, I think she scored high on sexuality.
Body type. No.
Yeah, her body type was
Yeah.
considered not diverse enough,
Okay, now
and so was her orientation.
how you're explaining this? You see how confusing this crap is for no apparent reason.
No reason.
No reason.
Well, it's people
no
who
reason.
want to set standards so they can have loopholes. That's what it is.
Bruh, it's like
Please explain.
they're
What it
trying.
is they're quantifying diversity so they can put as many characters as they want and check all the boxes that they need to say, hey, see, look, this guy ended up being a 9 out of 10, where this one is only a 3 out of 10. It's just another way to.
I'm gonna put this in real world acclamation. Equal opportunity when people hire for equal opportunity. When you have one person that can check 3 boxes versus hiring 3 people in 3 different boxes. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a character that can be this, okay, so that means we don't have to put so many characters out if we have one character that can check multiple boxes. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah, that's like the kind of driving force underneath, right? It's like, oh, if we're getting complaints that our characters aren't diverse enough, this is them
quantifying,
weirdly,
proving,
trying to use math to solve that problem.
No offense.
But the thing, no, go ahead.
If you have all 5'5" people, 5'5" individuals, all, green. They're all green 5'5" men working on a game. That's what's gonna be in the game. All green 5'5" men. How that checks. You don't need an algorithm. You don't need an AI. You don't need Skynet. Like, you just need a diverse group of people working
exactly.
on the game.
Like that was the exact pushback after this thing went out over the internet. It was like, why did you put all this time and energy into a robot telling you whether
you
or
just
not
hire a person
people,
of color, hire a queer person, hire an older person, hire a younger person.
And I guess you can't post on Indeed for a
but see, this is why I just said.
Let him finish.
For a particular, it needs to be on the up and up. You can't just say, "Oh, I need somebody who's pink." We're only hiring pink people.
Can?
I don't see how that would work. I think that sounds like
that
sounds illegal. But you could say we're looking for a diverse staff, and just be diverse. Just come in. They don't need to know why you hired them. Hey, we have this project going on. We're looking for people from different ethnicities to give different prospects,
different backgrounds.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't think you won't be able to word it that like, hey, we're just hiring.
Oh yeah.
Pink.
Well, because that's part of the problem is that a lot of these companies are like, we need to hire someone to fill that quota versus the people we hire don't all have to look alike. Like, they feel comfortable hiring people who are sometimes like them in a lot of cases.
Right.
Didn't you just say this on one of your shows last time, if I'm not mistaken, that was it Activision that hired some diversity lady or something like that?
Oh yeah, she quit.
Right.
Day 2.
Yeah, they hired 2 new leads after the fallout. One was a typical white male, and then the other was a black woman who I believe was also lesbian, I think.
So,
and it was like, you
so
didn't trust the diversity hire enough to let her do the job by herself. You also had to hire a person Activision Blizzard was actually comfortable with.
Right.
So now you check all the boxes. You have white, black, she's lesbian. It doesn't matter male or female. There are certain boxes that they decided to check per se for what best fits them. So that is okay, we did this. So now we're gonna, however that.
Well.
So, but
lady.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's nonsense in games because anime has had the same issue per se. It's been like one of those underlining things when it comes to certain anime characters. Because obviously, and that goes back to who you hiring to write the stories. You know what I mean? Like, who's on the storyboard. Just like we're talking about, having a diverse group of people working on an anime will bring out a characters depending on how the characters would look. Be no different in games. If you have a diverse set of developers and engineers and this and that, you're going to have characters that people are going to come up with that probably do a better job than this foolishness that they talking about.
You know, let's put it this way: you know that there's black people in Rockstar Studios when you play GTA 5.
Oh,
Let's be
right.
honest.
Yeah,
Let's be
yeah,
honest.
obviously.
You know it.
Yeah. Come on
You know
now.
what I'm saying? And
Like-
granted, I'm not saying there's only black people there, but
I'm
you
just-
understand because you see
like-
how it reflects in the games.
Or at the very least, they consult with people who are
Right.
familiar with the
Thank
culture that they're
Right.
letting into.
They've been
Denzel,
involved
Like
for a
Rockstar's a
long
UK
time.
studio, but like no one complained about San Andreas being inauthentic.
No.
Right. But Denzel Washington said it best when it was an interview that they were asking him, and it was you have certain directors that can do certain movies, and he was talking, I know Scorsese was one of them, and there was another one talking about, well, you can have this director do Schindler's List and this director do The Godfather, but the thing is there's a cultural difference when you have certain directors do certain movies because there's a cultural thing behind it. So even though you have a great director, that director might not be able to place himself in that movie
Right.
because there's a cultural difference.
Right.
So when you look at certain video game, GTA is a perfect example. Like, you know, the way how you have certain places in GTA, there's cultural differences. There's certain things that are just definitive that you're not going to get like in the middle of Missouri.
Right.
Or in, you know, Idaho, you know, Montana, somewhere like that.
Right, of course.
It's not going to be genuine to the game itself. And what they're doing, like I said, you're just wasting money is just all it is, or just trying to hype up people to make it say we're, you know, the whole, I
We're
hate to say it
diverse
like
enough.
this.
We're diverse
You know,
enough.
Yeah,
That's what they're trying
like
to say.
trying to appease
And
certain
they have a scapegoat.
people.
Like, oh, you're not diverse enough. Well, we have a whole algorithm. So if it's not, I didn't do anything wrong, or he didn't do anything wrong, the algorithm wasn't. And I guess they mentioned that, you know, they got a lot of backlash because there was no black female heroes in Overwatch. Now there is one. Like, was that decision contributed to the algorithm? And then the algorithm came from like
they released a statement about that.
There's a bit that needs to be cleared up in regards to the fact that they used Overwatch as an example with this.
Right.
Apparently, none of the Overwatch team had even heard about this algorithm. Like, they did not consult it. They did not use it to make any of their characters in the game. The people who made this algorithm essentially used Overwatch as an example and claimed that for Overwatch 2, they had made use of it, which was apparently untrue.
Yeah. And there's a whole, and I'm not saying I believe it, but there was a whole statement about why it took so long to introduce Sojourn, even though she had been hinted at from jump, like from launch. You know what I mean? And we don't need to necessarily go into that.
I'm listening.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically, they were just saying that she was. This is what they said. She's so important of a character that they wanted to introduce her properly and not just an extra drop like they did with Brigitte or even Anna. You know, they wanted to make her entrance a grand entrance, and that wasn't going to be available until Overwatch 2, when she's like one of the main focuses to the story. So that sounds nice. Okay, I'll say that that's what it sounds like. But you never know.
Yeah, you could have just easily slipped.
There's so many characters that could have.
Yeah,
Black
very
women.
easily they could have done that way earlier.
Yeah.
But like like Lampy
yes.
said, I mean, there's just underlining problems. I mean, if they're doing all that, but you're pleasing certain people. Let's just be honest. Like when certain people are screaming loud because that those certain group or set of people can move things, then you have companies trying to react to certain things.
Right.
But isn't that what's so funny about this? And I want to talk to the fact that Koenig A is saying, like, well, using the word algorithm is kind of a heavy overstatement. He says it's a spider chart. Like, either way, they're using a formula of sorts to try
Using math.
they're trying to identify whether or not a character is diverse enough.
You know what that map looks like, though? It looks like when you're doing your EVs on your Pokemon, like Pokemon Shield, and it'll have it has the same little octagon. It has a little diagram going towards.
Yeah, like what bases do you cover? Yeah,
that's what it looks like. Like they're trying to raise the Pokemon.
But the thing that I find the most the thing I find the most crazy about this entire story is if Activision Blizzard had done what everyone was asking them to do, which was hire more diverse people, someone would have been able to tell them that this was a stupid idea. The fact that they came out with a chart, an algorithm, whatever you want to call it,
You already
that
know.
quantifies diversity is proof of how not diverse the company culture is.
Right.
Like, it's so telling.
Yep.
Because it's such a stupid idea. The world immediately saw how stupid it was. No one inside that studio could.
Right.
I would have rather pretend. I would have pretended to be the algorithm. Just sit me in a box and just give me a list of people to interview. Like, I'll be your algorithm. Yeah.
You walking through the Blizzard
And-
campus, and you just walking past the water fountain. You see the diversity machine. It's a cardboard box with just stuff for the size. What you need?
Like, written in Sharpie on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the villain in Space Jam 2. His name was Algorithm. It was
Algorithm,
Don
yeah.
Cheadle, yeah.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Oh boy, NBA Jam. But Apex kind of had something similar, because I know at the beginning there were certain people screaming about characters and not enough representation in certain characters, and Apex was trying to please. I'm like, come on, bro, just you already have a diverse cast, but like they were going in the right direction anyway with who they were having.
Like Bloodhound was non-binary, I remember.
Yeah, from jump they had a diverse cast.
Like from jump. Yeah, so and obviously they're trying to. It's all with Titanfall, so people got to understand. There's just certain games where if they're trying to pull it from what they used to have, you're not gonna have certain things in there or certain characters in it because it just doesn't fit the gameplay. If you're trying to bring out certain characters for the BR, certain stories you're telling, this and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't force an issue that is not there. Just leave it alone. You know what I mean? I understand.
But we also do need to. But I hear what you're saying. But we also need to make sure that we don't diminish any struggles that are there that we just don't identify with.
No, I understand that, but it seems like every game must have like every element including, which I think is a bad idea. I think if there's so many games out there being made, trust me, it's not like everybody's getting left out is what I'm saying. But it seems like in almost the games that are being made, you almost have to force every issue into the one game or else everybody's not going to be satisfied, which in my opinion, is straight bullshit.
No, I see what you're getting at. Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
everyone's never going to be satisfied.
Right.
Yeah, that's the heart of it.
There's lazy ways to do it. There was what was that medieval game that had where you could?
Yes.
They didn't have people of color, and then you could turn off so you didn't see people.
Yeah, crap, I cannot remember.
I could see if historically there were no people of color during that time in that particular area, it would make sense. But if there were,
but to clarify, it wasn't a thing they did. It was an idea that was talked about.
No, I'm saying they didn't have people of color at first, right?
Yeah, it didn't. No, but like
then it was
the idea
to.
was to add them, but with a switch to turn them off if you didn't like that. But that never was in the game. It was an idea that someone spotted off out of their mouth, which was really stupid.
It was supported for a while too, by some people.
I thought it was talked about too. That they were thinking about doing it. I don't know. I've never played the game, but I just remember that. I think we covered that on the show too. But like historically, if there were people of color back then it should be represented in the game. If
now,
they weren't historically, then obviously it makes sense that it wasn't going to happen. But I feel
then
like
we talk about.
then
we talk about knowledge. How much do you
exactly.
how much we know?
Because in a fictional world, if it ties into this, it's a lot more room to be diverse in a fictional story because you're not tied down to facts.
Yeah, to like historical events, locations, stuff like that.
A lot of times, color does not take away from, or it maybe add, but I've never seen it take away from a story. You know what I'm saying? Like when Oob looked like he was a darker skin color, it didn't take away from Dragon Ball Z. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this man brought Dragon Ball Z out of.
That was a weird jump, but I'm with you.
It sounded like he was preaching too. He's like, man, you remember him? Back in the day, turned brown. We had no problem.
But you also, when he said that,
Piccolo was black though.
And it's interesting
because we all claim Piccolo. It's true.
And it's interesting because you have to look at who on what side of the story is being told. Like if you're developing a game and you're trying to tell a particular side of just this side of the story and this how it is, then you might only see those elements on that particular side. Now, if you want to flip it and add a DLC and say, well, now we're gonna add these elements of this side with these type of characters with this, and this, then you can do that. I mean, there is no wrong way about it if you're just doing it genuinely.
You're saying you just want it to make sense.
Right.
Yeah, like just
right? Which I think is fair.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of developers will claim that adding diversity doesn't make sense,
right?
When there's really no reason for it to not be there.
Right.
Like they'll be like, oh, black people didn't have these kind of hairstyles at the time, or black people weren't in this region at the time. Meanwhile, everybody's doing effing magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you're choosing what makes sense to you in that case.
And 9 out of 10 times, black people was around there.
Exactly. Like yeah, and they're also just wrong.
Think about like Destiny. Can you imagine like to me Destiny like color doesn't play a role unless obviously if you're like an awoken, because that's like a different. But like,
if you blue,
you ever seen like well, I'm kind of like you seen like a darker skinned. Never say, oh well, black people weren't around in Destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't live.
Black people were the fallen because they didn't even like to be called the fallen. So we was going around. Honestly, it's kind of the F word in Destiny. Okay, like because they're called the Elixir, right? That's how they're supposed to be. That's African American Elixir, right?
Oh my God,
we go around calling them the N words all day. Talking about
that.
That's how some of these people feel. Anyway.
Like that big Destiny reveal where you find out that all the Guardians are racist.
You can't tell me.
Culture, too, is my culture.
Oh, that's funny.
I just feel like it's like a game like that, like even Mass Effect, to say, "Oh, there were no black people in the galaxy." You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, we're talking about the whole galaxy. You're telling me you couldn't find room to incorporate, and they had a couple people.
Yeah.
They had a couple.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, can you imagine if it did, and that was their justification?
Yeah, like it sounds dumb there, and it's weird that in other settings people don't realize how dumb that also sounds.
Yeah.
Like our algorithm didn't. It said we were very diverse. From a level from 1 to 10, we were at an 8.5, which is acceptable for a game. Like I think that's what it's going to come down to, and that's what it would have came down to. That's why I'm glad this came out, because it just just doesn't. They're making they're making it harder than it needs to be.
Right.
Like they're doing everything they possibly can to not solve the problem, to not actually just hire more diverse staff,
because that gives up power.
Yes,
right.
That is.
Lappy had a good point. He said to rate the game is how good the black hairstyles are in the game. That's how you know how diverse you are when you have good hairstyles.
Yeah.
And that was a whole nother argument. Like that's a whole nother argument there.
Yeah, that's still going on to this day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother argument.
I will tell you,
my
I
gosh.
don't feel like the haircuts in GTA, the shape ups aren't as crisp as they should be.
I agree.
No. They've added a lot. They've added a lot.
They have?
They used to be. You see, y'all need to get on the game before you start talking smack. Come on. No, but for real. Look, they paid attention in that game, right? They paid attention in almost every basketball game you play. I'd say every sports game you play.
Because they have real life people to model off of, and like I don't get why they can't just import this man's hair into this game over here,
to this fantasy game. I just want to see it in an RPG.
Yeah, give me a clean shape up in Monster Hunter. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Which they did add a couple really good.
Yeah, they added black hairstyles after Rise.
Really good ones in Rise.
They were really good.
But that's all. It was only 3.
But we need more.
Yeah, we need more.
But yeah, so on that note, we'll move on to our final topic. Sony, once again, reiterating that they will not be putting any of their first-party exclusives on their PlayStation Plus service when it launches in June, stating that it will deteriorate the quality of their franchises. Now, I would say this sounds like a bunch of bull, but we've recently, and this kind of tying into the topic that we didn't go into, but like Microsoft has once again delayed, a lot of their first party stuff that's supposed to be coming day and date to Game Pass. Is there some sort of connection? Is this just Microsoft as a whole? Like, does Sony have a point when they say that the quality level that people love from their first party exclusive games would be affected if they were launching them on a service where they're considered free when you're kind of paying for the service.
Right. I don't feel like that is because the same amount of money goes into producing them. I think the delay in Starfield and Redfall is due because they don't want to repeat the mistakes of other games like No Man's Sky when it first came out and Cyberpunk 2077, to where these games, given a little bit more time in the oven,
Call of Duty.
would have met the expectations that people had, as opposed to coming out and it's still a little pink in the middle. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to eat no chicken that's still pink in the middle. You know what I'm saying? No, who wants to be doing that? But if we leave it in the oven a little longer, it's gonna come out. It's gonna be delicious. It's gonna be.
Why do all your metaphors go back to
This
food?
man
Are you
is
hungry right
hungry.
now?
He ain't no breakfast for nothing.
But I do see them wanting to avoid that, and that was the reason they gave. And I do understand that because there's so much hype behind Starfield. Can you imagine if it came out and it had some of the same issues that No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk 2077 had, Battlefield 2042. A lot of these bugs or you roll out a part of the game like Halo. You roll out a portion of the game and the game's not finished. Oh, you can do this, but you can't do that. Or you can't go to these worlds, but you can do that. They would get ripped apart. People would want refunds, and I don't think that game would. Maybe a year or two later, it would kind of start to recover. But by that time, it had a bad name. Cyberpunk 2077 right now, people are raving about it because No Man's Sky. People can't stop talking about
raving.
No Man's Sky. The people can't stop talking about it. And that's a while after launch. People remember those promises that were made. Oh, you told me we could do this one in launch. Like, they got ripped apart. Now the games are in a good state. I think they want that extra time because they want this game to hit hard when it comes out. Well, these two games. I feel like when we talk about the quality of a game deteriorating because of it being free to play on day one, what are we talking about? What factors go into that? Like, what are we saying as opposed to it just being free? Does less money go into producing the game?
It's all about money. It's just money.
Yeah, I think because that's the point Lampy actually hits on.
Yeah, it's just money.
He said, I think Sony's point is that if they're going to be able to sell it for $60 and how many units they'll sell, they can set a higher budget. If everyone is playing it on a subservice, you can't budget
much
like
less.
that.
Yeah. I do think Sony has a point. As much as I don't like it, well, I think that's kind of what they are saying, As much as I don't like it as a consumer, I think it makes sense, and that's what's been Sony's, bread and butter for all these years. They profess the quality of their games. So this is right in. This is like. What'd you say?
I said it's the same thing for Microsoft. Are they not having as much money going to the game?
No.
No. I think that's the
I'm making.
Yeah, because are we talking about the amount of money allotted to make a game good, or just the quality of the studios, or like the management there of those studios? Because Sony is saying they can't spend as much money on their games, therefore the quality will go down. Like, is it money equals quality for Sony, and not like the talent of their studio? Because Microsoft is spending all the money.
They're saying that their talent requires a certain price point.
But why would offering the game on this service take away from them paying that talent? Honestly, I think this is a choice. Sony will spend what they want to spend.
Well, let's be
You're
honest
probably
though.
Gonna come in at a loss because if all those people
there you go.
Yeah, it's gonna come in as a loss because if all those people who are subscribing to this service also pick it up for $60. I mean, you're winning twice. Why would you cut yourself?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think all these people are gonna subscribe to the service because why would you need to? There's no value there. Microsoft has the value. Say again, John.
John Billy Wadley said the same thing. They don't see themselves getting those subscriptions to justify putting it on there.
But isn't that weird? Because Microsoft, who does not have the high tier of first-party exclusives, sold 25 million Game Pass subscriptions based on the fact that you'll get, along with all these other games, first-party exclusives, knowing that they're not competing with Sony's level of first-party exclusive. If Sony decided, who has a bigger market share in terms of consoles out there in the wild, if Sony says, hey, you subscribe to our service, every single one of our critically acclaimed first-party titles will be in that service, how could they not get more subs than Microsoft?
Let's look at it from a money perspective. Microsoft is worth way more than Sony. Microsoft is not just a gaming per se.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft can literally take losses where Sony cannot. Microsoft makes their end so they can say, well, we can pump as much as we want to. Sony can't really do that.
Right.
So it's like a risk aversion thing.
Right. So
even if it's a good idea, even if it might work, it's still too risky should it not.
Yeah, because
Right.
their movies aren't making them any money, if we're being honest.
So, but if, like I said, Microsoft has a bigger pot of money because of other things versus Sony. So that has a lot to do with certain decisions. Now, obviously, yes, you're cutting yourself if you don't, when it comes to Sony, if you just don't have the sub numbers, or if you're trying to continue the game, or you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So Sony knows that they have a limit. Like, they can't do what Microsoft does. They just don't have the money. They don't have what Microsoft has to take that type of loss. You know what I mean?
That is, it's not they didn't just say that it's not going to be available day one. They didn't say when it would be available on their subscription. Now, like, yeah, it won't be available day one, but in 6 months from now, you'll be able to play it on there, which is feasible. I could see that. 6 months from the day launch the game, a brand new first party game on PlayStation. I got other things to play in the meantime, but in 6 months, I'll be able to play it on the subscription. I don't have to pay that $60. They never even stated when that would be available, which leads
because
me
they want you
right.
They don't want you to wait.
Right.
They want you to pay that money for that game.
Which leads me to suspect that they're talking about a year, 2 years from, like, I'm talking about the time that it takes them to make a game free on PlayStation Plus. Like, that's how long it's going to take a first party game to come to that particular subscription.
And I would also have to say the Elden Ring effect too. Like, Elden Ring now has set this damn standard so high, it's ridiculous. Like literally, they've really came out with a game that everybody and their mama is praising on a level where it did not have all the other extras that most games had to have in order to sell. It literally came out as a polished game. Yeah. So, now you think, right, there you go. So now people are going to be like, all right, since a game like this can be done, why can't they just take the time to not put all the BS in it? Just give us something that is just completely finished.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're never going to make everybody happy because someone say, oh, we just want the game.
But Elden Ring, but it's funny, but Elden Ring did make everybody happy though.
It did.
Across the board.
And it got pushed back maybe, like a week or something?
No, I think I want to say there were like maybe 2 delays for Elden Ring from when it was originally announced.
Delays are healthy to me. I feel like they mean that the people are taking enough time to get the game ready. I think publishers, they want to make their money in that quarter, right? That's because when they had that investor call, they said, this is the amount of money we're going to make in Q3. You got this game coming out, it's projected to do this, and they're pushing to get that game out instead of taking the time to go back and do some quality checks on these games to make sure that they're at the level. Because once again, Cyberpunk 2077 would have been a lot better received had it spent a little bit more time in the oven. But once again, I don't think that was based on... I don't think that helps Sony's argument of the games. And I think Fast Track has a great point about them not having enough money to eat the cost.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I think,
but I feel like actually there's 2 points. I guess that with a delay in Starfield, I guess I was trying to address both those. That's a good delay. I feel like that's a good delay. Let it take the time that it needs to. Let them finish polishing it, so that when it comes out, it's at the level that it could have been. But also, I do agree with Fast Track's point about cash money.
Yeah, and Lampy is making several points in the same vein in chat here. It says Sony movies is not... Well, I'm sorry. That wasn't the point I was trying to read. It says you need to think about this stuff as a business, not as a consumer. If Sony lost, say, $100 million a year by making a system that works for consumers, that money has to come out of future production budgets. So yeah, like, I very often am thinking of game business decisions from the perspective of a consumer, because that's what I am. I'm not a member of the games industry business. But I can see, like, that, yeah, it probably doesn't make sense for Sony financially to risk this much. Sony does have the means to do exactly what Microsoft is doing. And I believe, as a consumer, the payoff would be big for them. But Sony, they won't take the risk. They're too big a company. There's too much at stake. And a big business is going to be risk averse. So like that's what I feel like is holding them back. I personally still think it's a good idea for them to be following Microsoft's plan to the T, because Microsoft has kind of proven that it works.
Right.
And Sony has so much more like social cachet in terms of the video game space. Like if they did what Microsoft is doing and was this pro-consumer, Sony already has fans despite being very anti-consumer. You get what I mean? Like there are people who are diehard Sony, and Sony does not care. Sony will charge them through the teeth for their loyalty.
If they did an extra $10 or so and added the first-party games, would you be okay with that?
Absolutely.
Extra 20.
I would subscribe to that service.
Extra 20.
Extra
15.
All right, I have to
extra
think
15.
about it.
Extra 15.
Extra 15, no.
Well, see what he's and he makes a good point there. What he's saying with
Because it's expensive already. That's why.
because
like it's not cheap to begin
because they're
with.
tiers. Because if you look at their tiers of services, exactly what he's saying. Like, what is the value of the tier? Is it worth it for you, depending on what they plan on dropping?
Right. They can make that
And-
for the last tier where
So-
it's an extra amount of money for you to be able to play these first-party games. If it
Right.
makes up for them making, the money that they would lose by. Everybody else would still purchase it because everybody's not going to buy that last tier of subscription. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever the price is, I don't know.
I mean, even Nintendo's doing it. And Nintendo and Microsoft has a decent relationship. But even Nintendo is starting to see but Nintendo has volumes of games that they can literally put on there. I mean, volumes upon volumes that they can come out with certain things that people
And
would
they
be.
as well
Yeah.
choose not to.
Let's
And
hold on.
nobody is
Let me
more
say something.
anti-consumer than Nintendo.
Let me say something about Nintendo. Nintendo's a whole different beast. Nintendo do whatever the heck they want. Their demographic spawns. Fat Stacks, you already know their demographic is thick. We've been talking about
Yes,
this
yes,
now, okay?
yes.
Oatmeal.
Right?
Yeah.
Nintendo got I don't even consider them in the same game as what we're talking about right now, because whatever they
Correct.
put out, people are gonna buy and they're gonna make money, and it's stupid.
Easily.
And they know that too.
Right.
So their strategy is completely different than what these cats is doing. If they made a Game Pass thing, they would
Which
only
they
do
are.
it if they really wanted to.
But they
You know
are
what I mean?
though. That's the catch. Their subscription service, like they're trying to bring like all the Sega stuff and that's just because that it gives them a chance to make more money. Now, do they have to do that? No, they don't. But because they're looking at Microsoft doing it, they're like, all right. Because if you notice, Nintendo waits in just that particular area. Microsoft was ahead of the game with the subscription service. And then once other companies start seeing these numbers, it's like, well, why can't we do that and add it to our little, that's how it usually kind of goes. There's somebody that is the head of the game and everybody else follows later if it's financially gainful for them. You know what I mean? If it's possible for them to do that. And of course, it's not going to hurt Nintendo's bottom line to have a subscription service. Already there.
Especially if you don't put any of your prized catalog on there.
And they're not going to do that.
Give them the oldies.
Yeah.
And not even like the oldie goodies, because they still sell those too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Koenig A in chat says, I'd also argue that any company is trying to do the airplane seat pricing, so maximize profits by selling to different people for different prices at different times. If you get someone on a 10 USD subscription that would have happily paid $60, you are leaving $50 on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like Blue said, Nintendo is a different beast. But even them, if they see the writing on the wall to make some more money, they're gonna do it.
And a lot of Sony ponies are used to buying $60 games.
Yeah. And
Correct.
They ready for that.
Yeah.
Correction, $70 now.
Ooh. Be
Pardon
corrected. Yeah. You've been corrected.
Pardon me.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right. Anything left to add in regards to Sony's first-party PlayStation Plus decisions? Yes, no, maybe so. A couple folks in the chat are saying, Lampy says, look at the subscription markets at the moment. The sub-services need to be subsidized by other business divisions because the sub-services can't generate revenue in the same way. That is true. Yeah, Netflix is struggling right now based on their sub stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I said in the beginning where Microsoft has so much money, they can offset without any issues. Not a lot of people can get away with that.
But I mean, Game Pass does make money. Does it make enough money to support Game Pass? I don't know. Yeah, because Lampy made the point: have they not shared their
Financials.
yes subscriber revenue? And
Nobody,
usually companies like to boast about that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So you could only imagine that, if they're either breaking even or they're losing money.
nobody thought Mixer would close, and we thought that was doing pretty good. Think about it. Talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Mixer right now, guys.
R.I.P. I miss Mixer.
But that's probably gonna do it for today's show. Thank you everybody so much for listening in. Blue, why don't you let folks know what you have coming up that they can check out from you?
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue Bones BLUB0NES. On Wednesday, you're going to see me back on Over Wednesdays. We switched up the formula a little bit last week, and we got some more wins out of it, so I'm pretty happy about that. And also, you're going to see me. That's going to be on the Open Party channel. And then on Friday, you're going to be back on Friday Nights with Blue on my personal channel. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to play. There's a good chance it's going to be GTA again. But you never know. You never know. So just hang in there, press that follow button, and hit that subscribe button if you really love it. That's where I'm at.
Sweet. Superman Jeff, where can folks find you?
Oh man! So Monday we'll be back with Elden Ring Fight Club. We're doing some more Elden Ring PvP on Monday. Won't be back this Thursday. Won't be back this Thursday. It's the little guy's birthday, so won't be doing anything this Thursday. The following Thursday, though, we'll be back with Guardian Thursdays. The new season drops for Destiny, so we'll be doing some of that.
Sweet. The Fat Stacks, where can folks find your content, and what are you going to be up to?
Well, you guys can, see. I try to get a little blessed in whenever I can. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of that later. But next weekend I have an event that I'm going to for the store and stuff like that. So I'm always trying to push the anime store. So I'm a lot more focused on that. I do try to stream in between, not as much as I used to, and every once in a while I'll still do the financial corner. Right now, I think there's really nothing new other than people are crying in certain ends. So until I find something significant with the financial corner, which I usually do every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. But yeah, you guys can check me out on the socials, the Fat Stacks, plastered all over the place. Once again, if you guys are looking for anime, thefatstacks.com, right across the board. So
nice. As for me, you can find me at SigmaGears9 on my Twitter, right here on my Twitch. Later today, I believe Jeff will be joining me for Super Smash Sunday on the Open Party channel. So if you're not already following over there, please click over and do so. Not like right at this second, but like right when we're done. Tons of great fun in terms of like Smash matches and stuff. Outside of that, I've been doing a lot more personal streaming. Like I mentioned earlier, I have the HelloFresh sponsorship thing that I'm trying to get done. I've been doing the Smash Diet, where I'm playing down the roster of Smash characters from heaviest to lightest. We are currently on Ike. Like, I just finished Wario, and sadly, it took way longer to get Wario his 5 wins than I intended, so he is no longer in Elite Smash, and I'm going to have to put him back in there at some point in the future. Woe is me.
Wow.
But outside of that, I've also been playing through Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's a great classic game that I've been meaning to get to for a long time. We'll be continuing in that probably on the weekend or at some random point during the week if I can find some time. And outside of that stuff, check out other streams I do, podcasts, as well as reviews on the Escapist channel. That's where you'll probably see me for most of the week, in all honesty. But on that note, thanks again to everybody who's watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks to my 3 guests this week. We'll see you all next week. Peace.